So I invite you to play with your identity for this next 2 hours. Maybe suspend normal. Maybe listen with an ear that says, what if I got this? Hello. What if I got this in a way that literally liberated my mind from all the things that are pissing me off, that I'm scared of, that etc., right? Because you all have that capacity according to this. And in particular, this sutra, this text, is giving us the mechanics of why that's a possibility, so we get a double whammy. So I invite you just for a second to think about your motivation for really, how can you use this technology and can you access it? To do that, today's actually class 1. Last week was get to know each other. To do that, like I mentioned last time, we're using the Tibetan Buddhist lineage tradition to say, can I do this for the sake of me getting to be the best I can, for the sake of everyone else? So if I figure it out, maybe my motivation can be, can I help other people figure it out too? If I can reach a state of enlightenment, maybe I can help other people do that too. As much as you can get that motivation, let's do that for the opening prayer. And again, you don't have to think about it as we're doing religion. Some people can think about it that way if they want. Literally think, what if I could get some kind of realization that could break open my normal and see this ultimate experience? What is that worth? And in this case, they've culturally said that's worth an entire universe, this mandala offering thing, an entire universe perfected, filled with gold and jewels, and I give that to whatever it is that turns on a teaching in my mind. So that's for you. Sorry, I just remembered, Leah. But the idea is like, let's bring that motivation to the forefront. And Stephen will be the umse. Hoki jishi and metal drum. Vira ling shi yunde embody. Sangye shindu mite vargi. Dropin namda shinla chuparsho. Idam guru ratna mandala kam niryatayami. Shedang soki shabnam la. Janchu bardu dakni apsuchi. Daki chinyangi petsanamki. Nrola penchir sange druparsho. Chudang soki chabnam la. Janchu bardu dakni gapsuchi. Daki chinyangi petsanamki. Drola venchir sange druparsho. Chidang soki choknam la. Janchu bardu dakni gapsuchi. Daki chinyangi petsanamki. Drola penchir sange druparsho. Thank you. I'm going to apologize for it, but not really. I remember the first time I took these courses and I heard everyone doing this prayer that they all knew about. I don't do prayers. That's weird. You know, it was in the 90s and it was at the old Three Jewels. And it actually disturbed me. That's why I like you. Yeah? Sorry, I'm calling you out. But it actually disturbed me. So I was at the back going, I ain't doing that. Because I also grew up Catholic, and so worshipping idols, what the hell? I'm going to hell. So I wasn't religious, but what if it was true and God was going to send me to hell for worship? So I was very conflicted. Took me a year to not do that, and let alone the prostration. That was something else, yeah? So if it freaked you out, you got to deal with it for yourself, but know that there's a path forward, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay, so remember at the beginning I said, please give yourself 2 hours to try and be a different being. I invite you for 2 hours to challenge if that triggered you, which I hope it did for some of you. I'm not looking that way anymore. I'm just saying I was there, and it felt really good to actually be honest with my state of mind, going, I don't believe in that, I'm not doing that. And it took me a while to actually go, whoa, something in me needed to shift to see that this can be something more than what it appears, for me. Yeah, and for others, there were tons of people going, oh, I can't wait to do this mandala offering. I thought they were just weird people. So if you're weird people, congratulations, you've landed in the right place. So my name is Hector Marcel. If I haven't met many of you, those of you who were here last week know I was born when I was very young. Thank you. Took a long time. I actually met Three Jewels on opening night in 1996 by mistake, and this was the last place I thought I'd end up 23 years later. So I feel very privileged to share something that's become the lens through which I experience a reality that is sometimes brutal, just like yours, and sometimes completely blissful, hopefully just like you. And then to have a kind of certainty in practice embodied about where that comes from and how one can produce that. And I hope to share with you the things that made that possible in my mind. Yeah. And I'll also share all the problems that I had in the way, which is nice. So again, I invite you to chill. Yeah. Like, if you're like any other creature on the planet, there's aspects of your life that are not yet fully formed, ideas about where the world comes from, what's possible, what's not. If you're like anybody else in the world, you've learned from your parents, society, school, that you should not ask difficult questions. Things happen because they happen, yeah? And here we'll challenge that, and hopefully you'll get to play with them. We'll take it step at a time. I wanted to give you context for the course that I didn't do last week. We're studying the Diamond Cutter Sutra, most incredible piece of work. We'll cover it in a second. But it's part of an 18-course series called the Asian Classics Institute, ACI courses. It took me 7 years to teach that at Three Jewels. I finished last year teaching a 7-year curriculum of 18 courses. A bunch of people are still graduating, doing the homework, the quizzes, the finals, and getting certified. Yeah, getting certificates. So I want to give you just a touch of an idea of what would bring one's mind to the Diamond Cutter Sutra course, which deals all about the most profound understanding of emptiness, this elusive thing that is in Eastern philosophy and in Buddhism in particular. Yeah? So the first ACI course is called the Three Principal Paths, or the Principal Teachings of Buddhism, the Lamson Namsun letter by Tsongkhapa in the 1400s, 1400s. And it really covers the basic states of mind that one should develop to move from normal human to an enlightened, awakened being, a Buddha. Yeah. So it says you have to develop 3 states of mind. So it gives you a very rough image, although it's beautifully, if you know the words, you can pull out the details. It gives you these 3 states of mind you should develop. And it says renunciation, being sick and tired of things not working and still believing that you could find a way to make them work. Like, I'm sick and tired of trying to get happy with a new job or a new partner, or doing the same old thing that didn't work before to try and get it to work again, giving that up, the renunciation, to simplify it. And then it says you should also develop a state of mind, a lens through which you look at the world, where you're not just wishing happiness for yourself and that those things won't work, so you're looking for a way that things actually work for yourself. You should think of all the other creatures crawling on this planet, humans and other beings alike, who are forever walking around searching for the next thing that will satisfy that insatiable need. Yeah. So the second state of mind in this text is saying you should develop what they call bodhicitta, this wish to wake up for the sake of you and everyone else. Yeah? And then the third state of mind that this text tells us to develop is wisdom, a correct view, the view that where do things really come from? Yeah? And this is the understanding of emptiness and causation, emptiness and karma, which this course, ACI 6, the Diamond Cutter, goes into detail, like beautiful, mind-bending detail, and I hope that we leave a little dizzy every evening. Yeah? But once that framework's been placed there, ACI 1, the first course, then we go into this idea of what's protection, what protects us from harmful things. And they call this course Buddhist refuge, and it's the idea of taking refuge in something that will actually protect you from things that you don't want. And they call that Buddhist refuge, and it's a long story. But emptiness has everything to do with that course. So then there's a understanding of what does the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, and the Sangha jewel, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, what does that got to do with protecting my mind? And it's all around emptiness. And this course, the one we're doing now, if you've done this course, the Buddhist refuge, this ACI 6 course gives you so much more depth to that course than the one before. So they're sort of incremental. Does that make sense? Just to give you a sense of what you're stepping into and what came before. So this is not on your homeworks, by the way. So you're like poised. And then imagine actually getting a map, like a map of the matrix. Yeah, someone gives you a map of the matrix before you took the red pill. We did that metaphor last week. Yeah, someone gave you a map of the matrix. The first course, ACI. Yeah, develop these 3 states of mind. Yeah, Neo? No, not Neo. What was his name? Yeah, Neo. Yeah, develop this. Here is a map, right? And then it's like if you want to be protected in there, do these things. Think of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, but not in the way that they sound. Like that Buddha over there, that statue, that's not going to save you. It can kill you if it dropped on you, right? It's not that they're talking about. They're talking about something else. That's made of metal. If it fell on your head, you'd die. Not protected. Yeah? So they're talking, true. So they're talking about something else, and it's got to do with emptiness. Oh, I can't get my head in there because I'm in the matrix. I haven't stepped out to see the map. Yeah? Applied meditation is like, how do you navigate that map? The next course is all about, most of this stuff is happening in your conception, uncontrolled. You think it's all happening out there, but there's something in here that's projecting your reality in such a way that it feels real, like the Matrix. The Applied Meditation course, ACI 3, goes into the nuances of how you can get your mind focused on just the right thing to get your mind still enough to reflect what is really happening in reality. Because if you do, then you know what to do, how to navigate that map. And this course is what we're teaching as the foundation of our meditation teacher training coming up in 2 weeks. What was that? A commercial break. Yeah. There's 2 spots left, and if anyone's interested, come see me or see Stephen or see Rachel before the thing ends. 2 spots left. Meditation teacher training in detail, Applied Meditation 3. But it looks mostly at stop trying to fix your world, all the problems and all the happiness out there. Stop moving the furniture around. People have been moving the furniture around for a long time. They left it like this for you. Yeah? Stop a little and go in there in your mind and see how is your world being framed by your mind, uncontrolled. And can you do some actions of mind to see how that changes out there? So it's like the Matrix for real. You do some weird thing in your mind through meditation. First, you got to get your mind still enough, and then you can do some stuff in meditation, and you see the furniture change. Yeah? It sounds magical, but you can have an experience where what you thought was one way, all of a sudden became another, and all that moved was your mind. And you're like, whoa, that wasn't a terrible relationship. That taught me how to do this. And all of a sudden, being hateful against your old partner becomes your biggest lesson. And you've figured it out. The partner still was a shithead. But for you, shithead became teacher. You changed something. And so this course, Applied Meditation, really lets us investigate that based on the other two courses. Make sense? Yeah. I'm giving you a kind of, we're reaching this thing called emptiness, the Diamond Cutter Sutra, but we've already done this stuff. Yeah. You haven't. No, some of you have. Then we do this course that is not done traditionally in the monastic system, because they already believe in past and future lives. They don't need proofs, but we are Westerners and we need proofs. So we go and look at their text and use logic and reasoning to see how mind is timeless, no beginning, no end. And we're just iterations of creatures that come and go, but something made you be a certain way when you came and popped into this world. You had certain tendencies, and they didn't come from mommy or daddy. They were highlighted by mommy and daddy and your school and whatever, but you were a particular person different to your siblings. Why? Because if it was the circumstances, all your siblings and you should be the same, right? So this course looks at proving the idea of past lives, and by implication, it proves you got one coming after this. Some poor bastard is going to inherit all the crap you did in this life. And they're going to sit there going, why can't I make relationships work? It's thanks to you. Yeah? I really like that course. It's a beautiful proof of your mind has no beginning and it won't end. And it has a ton of implications for Western thinking. Yeah? And this is where I'm inviting you to sort of look at the way you think the world works. Try and look at this view, because it will inform your behavior. Mm-hmm. And you'll get a different result. Then the next course, How Karma Works, is an incredible course on like a summary really of karma being the movement of your mind and what follows. How movements of your mind cause your reality. Yeah. Karma, meaning everything you say, do, or think, leaves an imprint in your mind. Yeah, leaves an imprint. It doesn't leave no trails, right? All the things you do have a result, right? They're causes for something else. Same for everything you say. Same for everything you think. It's all stored in this beautiful infinite thing called your consciousness, and that's what sharpens the lens that makes you see a certain reality. Everything you've done, said, and thought is continuously causing your reality. In this course, we get to see why and how to make some stronger, some of our realities lesser, purify bad shit we did to others in the past so we don't have to live the consequences of being an ass. Yeah? That's, to me, the most important. That's the last class in that course. So now you get what brings us to this thing, right? It's like, oh, if you were going to be a good Buddhist, you want to know how my mind works, what protects me, what states of mind I should create if I want to get sort of enlightened, yeah? Wake up, if I don't want any more suffering. And so all of those are giving you, this is what you should do and how. But then this course really, the next course, ACI 6, the one we're starting, really gives you the detail. It's like clicking on Google Maps and getting the line drawing, and then this course gives you the topography. You know, when you actually see the image, it's all 3D. This gives you that kind of nuance. And it's going to be hard, okay? And I don't know if you remember the warning last week. Do you remember the warning? Yeah. Has anybody had an incident between last week and this week? Yeah, a couple of hands. Good. Congratulations. Yeah.
My forehead.
Someone hurt your forehead?
I hurt my forehead.
Okay.
I slammed it into a shelf above the trash can last night, and now I have a walnut under my...
Very nice.
So
Congratulations.
check it out later if you like.
So there's this beautiful warning in the middle of this course saying anybody that studies these ideas well, this sutra well, that reads it well, that is going to have some kind of mini catastrophe. And all it is you are going to have a worse catastrophe, but because you've gone digging into the nature of your mind and the thing that makes reality work, that stuff got stirred up and you got a little sprout instead of a huge tree of a result. And so they call it purification. But in the process of bursting out, you actually have to have a little bump on the head. Yeah? Or whatever came your way. So now, quickly, I'm going to give you the 10 classes so you know what not to miss. Any questions so far? Good. Okay. Today's class, we're going to go through a commentary. What's the sutra made out of? What's the title? Because it's actually probably the most important thing to learn. Otherwise, the content won't mean anything. If you understand the title and why the title, you will read the entire text in a very different way, and you will be able to apply it in a very different way. So it's spend some time on the title, and then we'll talk about how the sutra is set up, and that's all we'll do today. It sounds like nothing, but it's a lot. Yeah. Then we'll talk about emptiness and the wish to reach enlightenment for the sake of every living being, called bodhicitta. We'll then talk about emptiness and the bodies or the parts of a Buddha. If you understand what enlightenment means, what Buddha means, and what a Buddha would look like if you ever met one, then you'd know what to create to cause your own experience of yourself as a Buddha. So that's an important class. In this sutra, the Buddha is, we'll get to it, but the Buddha's answering this student, and he talks about the end of the teachings on waking up, the end of Buddhism. Yeah, he's like, oh, there'll be a time where people won't be able to conceptualize, to understand, to practice, to take up this thing that gets them free of suffering. There'll be a time when that comes. And so there's a whole bunch of debates like, what did he mean? When will that happen? How will it happen? And that's a really beautiful class, because you actually see that even the study of getting free from suffering is part of this suffering world. Like everything that comes must go, everything that goes up must come down. Is that? No. Cause and effect, whatever. Yeah. Then we spend a bit of time on karma and emptiness. These two incredible, there are layers of understanding this class, and you will have to pay particular attention to get to the deepest understanding, so you're not left short. But there are 3 different ways to understand this particular class, and it'll land on you, dependent on you. And so remember, I say half of this is you. I beg you to show up to that class with your most vulnerable, highest expectations to learn something powerful. Then we'll talk about the direct perception of emptiness. Like everything, you have a conceptual understanding of things when people describe stuff, and then you'll have an experiential if you're lucky. Yeah, who's been to Paris? Damn it. Who's been to Machu Picchu? Good. Okay, so imagine that you've only seen a picture of Machu Picchu and you have a conceptualization of Machu Picchu. And then I say, imagine standing in the middle of the square of Machu Picchu and looking at this temple of the moon that's right there in Huayna Picchu, the big thing behind Machu Picchu. You can get a mental picture. All of us have a mental picture, right? So we have an intellectual understanding somewhere in our mind. But those of you who have been there, who have planted your feet on that ground, who have this kind of depth of distance between you and that thing, you have a completely different experiential understanding of what that means. You have the temperature of the sun on you, you have the wind blowing, you see the clouds sort of a little bit below you. You know what that is in a very different way than we think about it. Similarly with emptiness, we will spend a ton of time in this course talking about what it would be like to understand this concept called emptiness, and then how to apply it. All of us can conceptualize it, and that's already infinitely more than the majority of the world population that understands, that is looking to understand where the world is coming from. But then just imagine that you can actually take the red pill in the matrix metaphor, and instead of thinking, oh, maybe I'm going to see this matrix, you actually have an experience of seeing it, of being there, and then you pull back out. Imagine actually having such a visceral experience that it transforms who you are forever. And you can't ever engage with the boyfriend and the job and the thing in the same way, because you've seen something very, very different to what you thought you were going to see. Yeah, it's like losing your virginity. I don't know, anyone not? No. You all probably can remember what you used to think that was going to be like. It was terrible for me. It was like, oh, that's disgusting. But it wasn't disgusting when it was awkward and it was like, didn't work and like, she laughed. No. And then I became gay. No. Our idea of what having sex for the first time was going to be was nothing like sex. Yeah. But then there was a reality that I couldn't deny. It was nothing like I pictured. Yeah, and I pictured fantastic things, but the intimacy that you get after that, the real intimacy you get after that is uncomparable to what you can imagine. Yeah, and so it's similar. Imagine you're unable to go back, right? You're unable to go, I want to think like I used to before I had sex. You can't do it. Same with this. Once you develop enough understanding of this key concept called emptiness, that lets you see the world as is, not magical, as is. Imagine having a visceral experience of that and then coming back and saying, wow, I used to think things were a specific way and now I know how they are produced. Now I'll get to work in designing the life because I know the causes for the things that I want. I don't know if that's making any sense or I'm rambling, but that's a good course. Don't miss that. Then if you understand emptiness, you will be able to understand how to destroy the things that annoy your mind, that keep popping up in your mind and breaking up your happiness. You'll be able to get rid of some of those. We'll talk about purification in general, how to remove obstacles, how to remove negative states of mind, and thinking, is it possible to actually experience this very same realm as divine, as sublime? Is it possible? We'll investigate that and we'll get an intellectual understanding of that. And then we'll talk about preventing the two extremes. Wisdom is a metaphor for emptiness. We'll talk about it. But as soon as we learn the idea of emptiness in a deep sense, our minds will automatically go to an extreme of thinking that is also incorrect. It's a consequence. Like we think things in this world give us pleasure, right? Who likes ice cream? Yeah, good. Does ice cream give you pleasure? Red is like, hell yeah. Does anybody get stomach pains with ice cream? Does ice cream give you pleasure? Right? So you get to really investigate. Hold on a minute. I thought ice cream gave me pleasure. Where's my tummy rumbling? Yeah, now I'm running to the toilet. Thanks, ice cream. That's not pleasure. So we tend to think that this thing I want is going to make me happy. And if it was true, if happy was in the ice cream, it wouldn't make you run to the toilet. Unless you'd be happy running to the toilet. Then that's another story, but we're not doing that. Follow the metaphor. Thanks, Reda. You like. So we get to investigate here. Once we understand that maybe it's not in the ice cream, maybe it's somewhere in me. Once you go there, then you think the ice cream doesn't exist. Some people think emptiness means there's no ice cream. Seriously, you'll think that way. Trust me. Once we get to the proof of why there isn't niceness in the ice cream, you're like, it just causes diarrhea now, you know? Or you'll say, ice cream don't exist at all. And that's an extreme, because that's not true. There is ice cream. And so there's this fine, very fine doorway between these two extremes of ice cream being the source of my happiness and no ice cream. Yeah, and that's what our minds will do. And in this class, you'll get to find this very narrow doorway in between the two, because our minds will be pulling either side. And it's a consequence of getting wiser, a consequence of understanding a different way of looking at the world is that you'll come up with new bullshit ways to look at the world. And this class will go, don't do that, because you'll just create more bullshit. Yeah. Can I say bullshit in this class? I just said it 3 times. Yeah. And then the other thing of the extreme is like, okay, so there is ice cream, but it doesn't work because it doesn't give you happiness and so on. So then we tend to think things that are empty don't do anything. That's another kind of silly state of mind that comes as a consequence of getting insight into what the world is made up of. And so this last class looks at, no, things still function, you'll still deal with ice cream, it might give you diarrhea, it might make you happy. You got to figure out what produced either. Or can you stop one and just keep the other? Hopefully you stop diarrhea. And then on the last class, which we tricked you, we said it was 10 classes, but I think there's 11 in the schedule. We get to review. That's where Michael gets to ask questions. You have to wait till 11. Yeah. We get
Actually, I guess I just asked him.
I didn't answer it. That was a statement. And if we have time, I'd like to give you a verbal transmission of the sutra, meaning the entire sutra, because you will, after this course, you will be able to pull out key ideas. Like if I read you the sutra now, it'll sound fantastical. It'll sound like science fiction. It'll sound like the Buddha's repeating himself and saying weird stuff and contradicting himself, and there's some lovely things in it, but you will definitely not be able to understand the true meaning of this sutra. And so after doing these classes, you'll be able to go, oh, that's what the title means. Oh, this is what this word means. Oh, that's what... So we're building a kind of mental construct around parts of the sutra, the structure of the sutra, that by the last class, when you actually hear the entire thing, which is what I'm hoping we'll do, your mind will just be popping like popcorn with your own creation of what this is informing to you. Yeah, with as much wisdom as you've been prepared to listen with. You will be able to have an experience that is yours alone, and it should be profound. Yeah. I'm allergic, that's why I'm doing that. I'm allergic to Buddhism. No. Okay, so that's all. That's what I want to tell you the class is. Now here is a problem we're going to have. Okay, besides the warning problem, which you continue to have, because this course comes on the piggyback of 5 other courses, which we've already uncovered a whole ton of Buddhist ideas, different worldview to what we're used to. Every class will have a ton of implications about your reality, which we'll want to get into. You're like, hold on, you just said past lives. We can spend like 6 years talking about that, right? We're not doing that. Those threads that are going to pop up, I invite you to grab your notebook, create a page at the back of your notebook. Don't let them disappear from your mind, yeah? Realize that I've got a problem with this. Write it down. I'm going to call that the shelf, yeah? It might get answered in the 10 classes. It might not. If it does not, then it's worthy. That's why Michael gets to ask those questions on the last class. Then it's worthy of investigation. If it gets answered, it's good that you noticed you need more information here, and you've got it in the back of your book, and you've got it in the back of your mind. Does that make sense? So we're going to pop up with literally lots of problems in your mental construct of how the world works, because we come here with a Western bias. We're not talking that anymore. We're talking the Buddha's point of view of how reality exists and what part you've got to play in it to not be normal, but be extraordinary, become enlightened, become a Buddha. That's what this is dealing with. And it's going to present you not a Western scientific point of view. It's also not going to present an illogical point of view. But it will have implications that are way beyond the time that we have here. So for you in particular, you might have 2 or 3 points that are particular to yours. And then she might have the same. And so there's something in common about you. We should get that going. But for you, something else. Yeah. So please keep those notes at the back of your book, and then we'll see if they get eroded. Go read them after every class and go, oh, I got that one. Yeah. And then lastly, please take notes in this class. We're not going to do it again. I'm not doing it again. I didn't think last time I did it, I was going to do it again. Here I am doing it again. But we're not doing it again in this context. Whoever the hell we are together, whatever course has brought us together, this isn't going to happen anymore. Yeah. Today's one shot. To next week, one shot. So please take notes as if you're the only keeper of every insight that the Buddha meant by this and got passed down to you, as if you're the last human responsible to pass it on to the next bastards who are hoping for some way to figure out life. Not calling you bastards, that's just an Australian thing. So please take really good notes. Notes that make sense to you, not notes like I take. Okay, that's it. Ready? Last thing. So that's about the threads. That's about the context. Any questions for real? Any questions for real? Good. Whenever you see a little diamond on the top right-hand corner, is that what it is? Yep. And it's got a number in it, that's me telling you that's going to be homework question number 1. I just thought I will highlight, because I'm going to give you more information than the homework, because I need to make context, but you should know what you're going to be asked to come back to next week, or the homework's in between. So that I think that's got a number. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Can you see okay there? Mm-hmm. So the title, Diamond Cutter Sutra. Who heard of the Diamond Sutra? Who's heard of the Diamond Sutra? Yeah. Who's heard of the Diamond Cutter Sutra? Who thinks they're different things? Good. Yeah, good. Thank you. They're the same thing, but one is incorrect. Yeah. The real title of this text is not the Diamond Sutra, but the Diamond Cutter Sutra. So we want to spend a little bit of time of why that's important. Because if you get that, that gives you context for this text. It's vital to understand this. This sutra is also called the 300 because it's, if you break up the Sanskrit into Sanskrit measures, it's 300 verses. Yeah, it's not in verse, but whatever the measure of a verse is, if you grab the Sanskrit lines, it's in 300. So sometimes it's called the 300. So the Diamond Cutter Sutra is what people used to call the Diamond Sutra when they mistranslated the title. Yeah, like early Westerners translating in the 1800s into English, mistranslated it into the Diamond Sutra. The actual title is the Diamond Cutter Sutra, and I'll give you the Sanskrit and Tibetan for the original text so you know for sure. And if you get caught saying the Diamond Sutra, your head will explode. Okay. It won't explode, really. It's just a metaphor for explosion. So in Sanskrit, it's Vajrachedika. Say Vajra. Chedika. Okay. So Vajra means diamond, and to ched is to cut. To chedika, to chop. Yeah, chedika, to cut. So diamond to cut sutra, the Vajrachedika. Yeah? Sutra is a piece of work that describes something spoken by the Buddha. In Tibetan, those of you that did course before, anyone remember? Huh? Say it. Yeah. So Vajra is diamond in Sanskrit. In Tibetan, it's dorje. Yeah, chupa. Yeah, but you don't say chupa because in Spanish that means something else. So you say chupa. Yeah. Unfortunately, but I can tell who speaks Spanish now. Yeah, it was.
How do you spell that?
Like that. Yeah, and if you want to, I invite you. There are some keywords that I'll put up in Tibetan text. I invite you to take a picture of it, and if you study in that way where you write and rewrite things, I invite you to write the Tibetan, not in the English transliteration, but the Tibetan language. Yeah, so you can write dorje. So I've put an apostrophe in between each Tibetan sound. So the first letter is dor. The next one between the dots is je. The next one is che. And the last one is pa. Yeah? And the last stick at the end of the Tibetan, that's not a word. That's just to say that's the end. Yeah? So dor, je, che, pa. And dorje, dor means stone. Je means king or exalted one. Those of you who know from previous courses Jade Tsongkhapa, the teacher of the first Dalai Lama, yeah, he's like exalted Tsongkhapa. The dude from Tsongkhapa, the really exalted, the king of that land. Yeah, the superhero. And so stone lord or stone exalted means diamond. Yeah, like the biggest, the coolest stone there is, the most amazing stone is the diamond. Yeah, so dorje is another word in Tibetan for diamond. And chu, to cut, chupa. So you got the title. It's not the Diamond Sutra. It's not the Dorje Sutra. It's the Dorje Chupa Sutra, right? Not the Vajra Sutra. It's the Vajrachedika Sutra. From the time of the Buddha until now, that's all it's ever been. It's just when it jumped into English, some person made a decision for you that you shouldn't take up because it's vital to have that part in the text. We're all good? Question 1, everyone's going to get right. It might be, what's the Tibetan for Diamond Cutter Sutra? And what's the Sanskrit for Diamond Cutter Sutra? It might be that. And so there are a couple of commentaries, and in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the commentaries are vital because they explain what is in the sutra like code. Yeah, so for example, the Heart Sutra, have you heard of the Heart Sutra? That's another sutra similar to this one, dealing with the same content, which is emptiness or wisdom. And in it says something like, emptiness is form, form is nothing but emptiness, emptiness is not form. What the hell does that mean? So if you didn't have a commentary, if you didn't have a written explanation, you might think that form is emptiness. Yeah? Or are they trying to say something else? And the commentaries help you understand that. And imagine trying to figure that out on your own. If you could really get enlightened based on those words, imagine you had to figure that out on your own. Or imagine you got 2,500 years of people who have figured it out, and they're like, oh, if you want to hurry up and get an experience of getting enlightened, here is what it means. And then you've just saved 2,000 years, yeah, of trying. So that's why commentaries are important. Now, the sutra was spoken by the Buddha. We'll get to that towards the end of the class. And there's only 2 Indian commentaries, Indian meaning from the original Sanskrit when they first brought into Tibet, a whole bunch of Sanskrit texts from India where the Buddha lived and spoke this sutra. And one was by Master Vasubandhu. For those of you who have done the course before, do you remember who Master Vasubandhu was? Anything else that he did that was famous? Mm-hmm. The Abhidharma Kosha. He wrote it around the year, same year, 350 AD, yeah. And that's like, it's called the Treasure House of Higher Knowledge. It's really a condensed version of all the essential sutras of the time. And all the Theravadan traditions use that sutra. So he's like the author and commentator of that. Not Master Asanga, like you'll see it in some of the ACI courses by mistake. And then the other Indian commentary is by Master Kamala Shila around 750 AD. And Master Kamala Shila is famous for he was from India. He was one of the early translators, commentators to go into Tibet when Tibet was picking up the Sanskrit wisdom of the Buddha and making it a cultural thing. Master Kamala Shila was a person invited to come to the court of the king in Tibet to solve a fundamental problem about Buddhist practice, a fundamental problem about what should we meditate on. And there was a Master Hua Sheng from China who was the proponent of the idea that was very common in Asia at the time, that you should meditate on nothing. You should empty your mind. When meditating, you should empty your mind. Try not to think. No content. Yeah, and Master Kamala Shila came from India to be part of that debate. And usually when there were feuds of key understandings like that, you'd have a public debate hosted by the king. It would take weeks. Lots of monastics would come and all the scholars would go, no, but you got it wrong. And no, you got it wrong. And they'd sort it out that way. And so Master Kamala Shila won that debate in 750 around 750 AD in the court of the king in Tibet, and the view that you should meditate on nothing got banished completely from that tradition. Yeah, it's a mistaken view to think that you should empty out your mind. So he's famous for that reason. He's done a whole bunch of other commentaries. But if you study the ACI courses, you'll come across Mr. Kamala Shila, Mr. Kamala Shila, often. And his commentary on the Diamond Cutter Sutra is stunning, but very difficult. Yeah, he doesn't really go into the mechanics of the sutra. He uses it to have more of a philosophical debate about different schools of thought in the Buddhist world. Yeah, but it's good source of material for further commentaries. Now, the only known Tibetan commentary, at least when we did these courses in the 90s, was Chone Drakpa Shedrup, and it's called Sunlight on the Path to Freedom. He's from Saramay College. And why he's important is because he wrote about half the textbooks of that college. There's 3 main colleges in Tibet that pump out all the scholars. And in this particular college, Saramay is a school within the college? Is that fair? Like a department? It's like this. It's divided in. The college is divided into 2. Sarah is the monastery, and then May is one group, and they debate with Jay, Sarah May, Sarah Jay. Anyway, so he's like the textbook scholar for that time around the 1700s, and so he has like an exquisite commentary on the Diamond Cutter Sutra. And even though the Diamond Cutter Sutra is a very central sutra for all of Asia, like I talked last week, it's all over Mongolia, every house has it, it's like a big deal. There's not too many commentaries on it because it's difficult. And so there's only 2 Sanskrit commentaries, 1 Tibetan commentary by Chone Lama, sometimes he's called Chone Lama. And when Tibet was bombed through the Cultural Revolution in 1959, artillery shell fell on the library of Saramay and burnt all the books, all of them, including this unique commentary. And so there's only ever verbal mention of this commentary. Nobody has a copy until we're studying this stuff right here at 3 Jewels in the 90s. And there's this project called Asian Classics Input Project, ACIP, who have gone to places all over the world to try and digitize books that might have been taken out of Tibet and taken to India or Russia or Mongolia or wherever. And they found a copy of his commentary, very bad condition. And then 2 years later, they found a much better in St. Petersburg. So the translation in your reading from this sutra, nobody else has. I mean, now it's available to everyone, but it was just newly discovered. And a beautiful explanation of the structure of the Diamond Cutter Sutra, commenting on Master Vasubandhu's, as well as the sutra itself, as well as talking about the lineage tradition, the verbal tradition. And Chone Lama wasn't aware of Kamala Shila's commentary, just for your information if you're interested. And then we're referencing 2 other texts. For those of you who have done ACI, these are authors in other ACI courses, and they're important. You will not be asked on the referencing. You might see the diamond at 2 and 3. Yeah? We're all good. So you get the idea that what you're getting is extremely authentic, extremely important. I've been trying to build it up, and it's become a central tenet of all Buddhist thought, particularly the Buddhist thought of the current Dalai Lama, the Madhyamika Prasangika school of Buddhism, if you know what that means. Yeah, for those of you who have done that study. So good. So if I were to ask you who wrote the Tibetan commentary, you'd say?
Chone Lama.
Good, Chone Lama. I'll take it if I asked you what the name of the sutra is called.
Diamond Cutter.
In Sanskrit?
Vajrachedika.
In Tibetan? You're all amazing. Good. Give me one more comment. No, I'm moving because that's up there. Okay. So the other thing you should know about the sutra before we dive in is it deals with the subject matter of emptiness, and that's it. There's a collection of works called Prajnaparamita Sutras. Sutras dealing with the perfection of wisdom. Prajnaparamita, that's a Sanskrit word. Perfection of wisdom. And the perfection of wisdom are books that in general deal with this. So the Heart Sutra is another sutra that deals with the perfection of wisdom. Yeah, the Lotus Sutra is another sutra piece of work. Yeah. So far, I'm just giving you what the book is. I know it's a little bit scholarly, but we'll get into the essence of it very shortly. But this is vital. You should know this. But you should also know that perfection of wisdom is a synonym for Dendam Dempa, yeah, which is a synonym for ultimate reality. That's what this sutra deals with, the matrix in the metaphor we're using. Yeah, we are living in a life that feels as if it's real in a solid sense out there. Ice cream makes you happy. But as soon as we go and investigate, we can't find happy inside ice cream. Why did it make me happy? What was it in particular about the ice cream that made me happy? Was it in the ice cream? And your answer has to be, no. Are you sure? Yeah. So you don't need any more ice cream? No. Hey, who said no? Why not? But you like it, makes you happy.
It doesn't make any sense. We still continue to have it.
Okay, do you enjoy ice cream?
Yes.
Yeah. Does the enjoying come from the ice cream? No, so you don't need any more ice cream.
It comes from the ice cream.
It comes from the ice cream.
Because I believe in the material world.
I know you do. I know. Yeah. But what I love about what you're saying is that it's true. We all, not just you, we all experience it that way. It is that way. It is happiness or joy or goodness or sweetness or whatever the yumminess is in ice cream. It's bloody ice cream. You're not getting it from poop. Yeah? If it comes from you, may as well lick poop. Yeah? You're like, no, I'm not doing that.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, in the back. Do I have to lick poop? No, you don't. Okay. So there is a reality that is apparent. There's a reality that appears to it. The ice cream is giving me happy or joy or what did you call it? Look, I like it. Likeness. I don't know. This positive experience I'm getting from ice cream. Not from poop. Poop is bad. Don't want it. Yeah, so we are forever in this kind of polarized. Don't want that, want that. Don't want that, want that. Don't want that, want that. Forever we're doing that. Because we think things are out there possessing those qualities. That's why I want that boyfriend and not that boyfriend. That's why I want that job and not that job. Yet we have this discerning part of us and we move towards things we like. We move away from things we don't like. Because, like Michael said correctly, ice cream is nice or terrible, whatever. I'm allergic to it, can't have it. Yeah, it's in the thing. This is the way we actually experience reality. That is how reality appears to us. And in this sutra, they say, that's just a relative thing. That's just an illusion. You've heard that said before. It's not really, capital R, really in the ice cream. There is an ultimate reality. There's a reality beyond that appearance where happy comes from. Why happy can be in the ice cream and not in the poop. Yeah? Are there beings that like poop?
Yes.
So is poop yucky or yummy? Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't expect to go there on the metaphor, and here I am. Yeah. But I think it proves the point, right? There are beings with minds who like poop. There's probably some human beings, but we don't have to go there. So perfection, sorry, I'm getting to Prajnaparamita. Prajnaparamita is just a school, it's a group of texts that deal with what we call wisdom, the subject matter of emptiness. Wisdom, emptiness, synonyms, yeah? What it's implying is there is this reality beyond the appearance that is more real than the reality we're experiencing. There's a fundamental basis. There's something behind everything that is much more ultimate, much more fundamental than the appearance of ice cream being nice one day and not being nice tomorrow. Makes me happy now, gives me diarrhea tomorrow. Yeah? I can do the same for poop. Like, that would be bad. It wouldn't work. Do you get that though? Yeah? That the possibility that there is something else going on that is a little bit more solid, much more solid, ultimately more real than the one we're experiencing. Fair? That's what the premise is. And so, Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, or Prajnaparamita Sutras, dealing constantly with this ultimate reality, as opposed to our relative human reality, which says poop is yucky, flies say it's nice. Some puppy dogs think it's nice too, right? So it's not. It's the same poop, yeah? It can't be nice and not nice at the same time. Something is making it nice for puppies and not nice for us. What's the ultimate nature of that poop? And that's what this is investigating, the ultimate nature of poop. So, write it down. Because if we get there, here is the big jump. We've done the title and the background. You know that there's authoritative substance here. The real Buddhist speech is here. Practitioners up to the year 300 telling you what it is. Up to the year 750 telling you what it is. Up to the 1400s explaining what it means, 1700s. And up to today. Right? So now we have a real connection to this Diamond Cutter Sutra, the Dorje Chupa. And why is it going to help me? What the hell has all that got to do with poop? It's saying it deals with emptiness, which is the key to understanding everything. Thank you. And and wisdom, emptiness, ultimate reality, all the same stuff. Okay? We're good? We'll get an experience of that. In order to explain why the title is vital and what's it got to do with ultimate reality, I need to give you what's the time? I need to give you a little talk about a subject called the 5 paths. It's the progression that any practitioner to enlightenment must go through, regardless if they're a Buddhist or not. Okay? They say any being, any creature who is in this realm, experiencing what you're experiencing, must go through broadly 5 states of being to get to wake up. Yeah? And I need to tell you about them, and then the title will make sense, and then we can actually go look at the sutra. Good? So here is before the 5 paths. This is us in every day. The dots are your continuum of your infinite mind moving along the timeline for infinity. Yeah? This is our evolution, right? From iPhone to zombie. This is just our everyday. This is you going to work. Yeah? This is you looking for a boyfriend, a girlfriend. More ice cream. Less poop. And so, in this explanation of what beings in general will go through to wake up, Buddha, yeah, is they'll go through this evolution. You will have at some point some beautiful catastrophe, some problem with your iPhone, your Instagram account, your boyfriend, the ice cream. You will begin to realize that what you're clinging to, looking to get, is not going to cut it for you anymore. You'll say, after how many jobs will I realize that looking for the career isn't the thing that makes me whole? What is it? Yeah, what is it that after the 17th hookup, after the third hookup, slut. At what point am I sick and tired of scraping my face against the doesn't work concrete? Yeah, and I know I'm talking to people who are probably coming to this room because you've had a little scrape with reality. Yeah, and the reality is at some point you'll realize that doing the same old that everyone else has already been doing for same old. You go to a nursing home, talk to a person that was 20 before. Go to a nursing home and talk to someone that had a career. Go to a nursing home, yeah, and ask them all the questions you want to ask about what you're about to do with your beautiful life. Go ahead. Go to several nursing homes to get triangulation. Yeah? You already know, yeah, there's something there, but it feels awkward. If you haven't had a nice tragedy yet, when it comes, maybe you get to question, is what I'm trying to do, is my efforts towards fulfillment the thing that's going to get me the fulfillment? Is yummy in the ice cream? Or you can ask it the other way. Are the things that are pissing me off always out there, or is there something to do with me? Am I the common denominator of all these things? Is there something out there, or is there something in here? At some point, you're going to get sort of sick and tired of being hypnotized by a reality that isn't delivering. According to this system, we're all up for that soon. Hopefully sooner than later. Because the older you get, the less likely you're going to shift. You're already in an inertia towards your inevitable crash. This is the positive side of Buddhism. Yeah. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. But someone asked the Dalai Lama, I remember when in the 90s, someone asked him, aren't you guys a little pessimistic? And he's like, we'd rather investigate reality from a foundation of what actually is than start off our journey with some bullshit magic. He didn't say bullshit, but he said, start an investigation on a foundation of what is versus what is not. Because then you start on truth, yeah? And if you're honest with yourself, I know you've had tastes of this, but you haven't yet had sustained Monday to Fridays for decades in jobs at computers and whatever we're making up in the future. They're coming. They're coming. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be that way. No, it's true. They're coming, and they're not just coming for you, they're coming for your children. Yeah. Because someone's indoctrinating them to go get married, get a career, find a job, and then you'll be happy. Yeah, get a degree. You'll be happy. I'm not saying don't get a degree. See how minds go to, I shouldn't get a degree. No, get a degree. Don't think, sorry, I need to take a picture. Don't think that, sorry, I need to take a picture because Missy, who's like a lovely friend of mine, is in a box in the little. Sorry, it threw me for a second. So it says on our path. Sorry, Missy, thanks. On our path to waking up from this dream, yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. All things being equal, poop can be nice. Ice cream can be not nice. Where is nice? In the ice cream? Where is not nice? In the poop? We think it is. Absolutely, that's our experience. But simple analysis says, no, in the dog's experience, this is yummy. In the human experience, it's not yummy. Same for ice cream. Some people hate ice cream. You can't force them to enjoy it. They need to be participants. So something in them is forcing yummy or not yummy. What caused that? Because if you can change that, then everything can be yummy. Does that make, yeah? Even careers, even picket fences and children. Does that make some sense? Yeah? That's what we're digging here. So what they're saying, and I need to get you to see this so then you'll see the importance of the sutra, is all things being equal, everybody that is trying to get rich fast and think that happiness is coming that way, their face will scrape slowly on the pavement. Everybody that's thinking sexy boyfriends or going to the gym, yeah? And that's what gets me happy, your face on the pavement. At some point it's coming. If we're hypnotized by thinking the world's going to create these happinesses doing the status quo, you're up for a nice surprise, they're saying. So then at some point, when your face hits the pavement, you enter the Buddhist path, they say. And they don't say Buddhist as in you're converted to the Buddhism. Yeah, that's not what they mean. For them, Buddhism is wake the hell up-ism. You've entered the wake the hell up Buddhism, ism, wake the hell up ism, when you begin to get this renunciation. It's called the path of accumulation, Tsoglam. And this is not in your homeworks, but it's vital, okay? You enter this path. It's not a path, it's not a little road that you find, okay? They just call it a path, but it's a direction that your mind begins to go in. In that sense, it's a path. You get suspicious about the next college degree. You get suspicious about the next perfect job. Yeah? But you don't get cynical. That's also a mistake. Yeah? You realize this could also make my face scrape on the concrete. That's not how I'm getting happy. Something else is making me, there's a matrix, there's something behind all this that's actually making me happy. It's not the job, it's not the career, it's not the picket fence, it's not the green bloody lawns in Australia. Does that make sense? When your mind begins to do that, it has what's called renunciation. It's like, I'm done with trying to get happy in that way or trying to avoid unhappiness in that old way. Everyone is doing. Get rich, have 15 million followers, then I'll be famous. Famous as can be, with the whole world wide watching me, win on TV. That's not, it's just like ice cream. Make sense so far? Yeah? You enter the first Buddhist path, wake the hell upness path, when you realize, you get this realization that the world, the thing I was seeking out there, trying to move the furniture, that's not going to cut it. You begin to accumulate this virtue for understanding reality, because you ask, what the hell is making things this way? I want to investigate it. It isn't the next job, it's something else. And so you begin this path of accumulation, which drives you to this next path called Jorlam, the path of preparation. And this is where you get an intellectual understanding of what's actually causing your world to break or to feel good. You've gone beyond the obvious of just ice cream, buy more ice cream, buy more ice cream. But at some point you're like, it's not in the ice cream, something else gives me a feeling of fulfillment and happiness. It could be ice cream. Yeah, the ice cream could be the vehicle for that. Yeah, I definitely don't want poop. That's okay. Yeah. But you no longer place the onus on needing to get more ice cream. You have more of an internal locus of control where you realize you're the person that is generating the experience, happy or unhappy, somewhere in your mind. That's why meditation is a thing, by the way. Okay? It's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons, because you get to see that. Yeah? So in this path of preparation, you are preparing for something. You are intellectually understanding this thing called emptiness, meaning the ultimate way things exist, ultimate reality. You're getting an intellectual understanding of what's actually creating the perfect things in your world or the broken things in your world. You stop believing the lies that it's the next job or the next thing. You stopped it in the path of accumulation. Does that make some sense? Yeah? And there's more detail about Joralam. There's 4 steps within Joralam, and there's all this documented stuff around your states of mind there. At some point, your intellectual, your thinking understanding of where reality actually comes from is much more on the side of wisdom. You're understanding the emptiness of things much more clearly than believing the next ice cream, next boyfriend, next job is going to make you happy. You're understanding that there's something in you, karma, that makes things function because things don't have a nature, they're empty. And that collection of you and the thing is what's producing your meaningful experiences. And at some point, that becomes so intellectually habituated that you're living your life mostly there in your mind. Yeah, and so you enter these implications there. Now, what are you preparing to do? You're preparing for this next step on the path, this next path, the path of seeing Tonglam. And in this path, you actually have a visceral experience in meditation of what is actually lying behind the reality or the appearance of reality you're having. You're actually seeing through the experience of meditation what the world is actually made up of. You get a glimpse, you're in the matrix. Yeah, you've plugged in, you've taken the red pill, and you've been able to see that this whole experience that you think life is not at all what you thought it was, but something else is making it work because the reality that underpins it is much bigger than you ever thought. It's not the college degree, and it's not the boyfriend, and it's not the right food and so on. Something else is producing the experience you're looking at. And that, you realize, is you. Everything you've ever done, said, and thought about others in the past is actually the stuff that is projecting your reality. Everything. At that point, you have this thing called the direct perception of emptiness. You're in meditation. We'll do a whole class on it, right? But imagine so far here for this path that you just get a glimpse at what's really making this world function. And you, in particular, in it. Does that make sense? Am I sounding too weird? Yes, a little weird? Yes, that makes sense. Okay. So what I'd like you to think about, at this point, you're in meditation, you're having you're lost in this experience, you're not even aware that you're there, you get they call it water poured into water. You get this complete understanding of how things actually are. And then immediately after that, within 20 minutes, you come back to your meditation because they say you have this sense of falling and coming back into the room. And then the world, the way you used to think about it, begins to reassert itself. You actually begin to see the world like you used to, even though you just saw how the world really exists, capital R really. Because it's coming from you, everything you did in the past comes knocking at your door going, I'm here again. Ice cream's nice. Poop is not nice. And you just saw that there is no niceness or not niceness in the poop or in the ice cream, that in fact, you're generating that whole experience because of what you did in your past. Yeah? Make sense? Good. At that point, that's called Jetob Yeshe. Subsequent wisdom, that means. At that point, you get this series of sort of popcorn realizations, they say, which can be grouped into 4 main ideas. They're called the 4 noble truths. You've heard them spoken. So a person that has had a complete insight into the nature of reality, had a direct experience of emptiness, which we'll talk about for the whole course. After coming down from that experience, they get this kind of popcorn realizations, many more than you would have had in your entire life in just a day. And they are grouped into 4 key ideas called the 4 noble truths. In a bad translation, in reality, they're called the 4 Arya truths. That's what they translated as noble. And the reason Arya is important because the word Arya, exalted one, is referring to a person who has had a direct experience of emptiness, has entered the path of seeing in meditation and come out. Yeah.
How do they spell that? Is that A-R-I-A?
YA, yeah. Unfortunately, Hitler borrowed the word. He did. And so it might not have such a nice rap nowadays. Yeah. But he got it from Sanskrit. It means exalted one. It means someone that has had... Imagine going into such a state in your mind where you see the entirety of the universe and what caused it, and then come back out to see the universe as you used to see it. Yeah, you'd be called someone else. Yeah, you'd be like, oh, you've traveled all of time and existence, and you've come back, and so they call you exalted one. They call you an Arya. Yeah, a being who has had this direct experience of emptiness can no longer function in the same way we function. Yeah, because they know the world is made up of other things. That other things produce the world, not getting the job, and happiness comes from somewhere else. Yeah, and so what happens after that? You enter this path of habituation, gomlam. Gom is also a word for meditation, where you habituate your mind to the reality you saw in the path of seeing. So you begin to act out in the world in a way that is congruent to the way reality actually is, not the way reality appears to us. And in that respect, you are removing all the things that cause you pain and trouble, and you are beginning to habituate a wake-up experience that leads you to the ultimate goal, which is called the path of no more learning, NMP, no more learning, Meloplam in Tibetan. Now, why am I telling you this whole story? In essence, what I'm saying is, we're all living in a human dream. We think reality is what humans think it is. And I say bullshit. Reality is much more than that. Just bring a bat in here, or an ant, or an elephant, and you've already disproven that the way we see things are the way things are. Yeah, just our sense functions are wrong. They're lying to us. The way we see light isn't the way light is.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Quite hear you.
Siri disagrees. Yeah. So just our senses, the human senses, are already lying to us about the intake of data. Forget what the brain is doing, and then forget what the mind is doing to conceptualize that data. Ants are doing the same. Elephants are doing the same with different senses. What a bat sees in here is not what you're seeing, which is true. Which is really the truth.
Neither.
Correct. And both. Right?
Yeah.
The truth for the human is what we see. That is what it is. That is an ice cream. But it's not for the bat. That's its truth, is its reality. It's not coming from the reality. It's coming from the bat's mind, filtered through the senses. Same for humans. We're not even a tiny sliver of reality in what we are so sure is real. We're dealing with our own little bullshit slice of the universe, and we're calling it everything. Universe, the thing that is all united. Bullshit. Not true. Just with logical thinking. Now imagine if that's true for humans and dogs, and elephants and ants, add all the other creatures that perceive this universe in a complete, which is the real universe. All of them together, and then some. And then some. So imagine with your mind, forget the senses. That's why we're like, shut the eyes, sit still, don't eat ice cream while you meditate. Go into the essence of consciousness. Can you perceive what must be? And that might be close to a description of what you might enter in this path of seeing. You see what actually is, not the human projection of what we think it is. Does that make sense? So imagine actually having a understanding of what actually is, ultimate reality. They call that wisdom in Buddhism. It's code for emptiness. And we'll get to understand what emptiness really means in this context. Everything else, that it's just blankness or this, is all garbage according to this. It's all there to waste your time. But what if you understood really what emptiness is, and you got to have that experience in meditation of what this experience, this universe is, not our bias, but what is. If you could see that and what causes things to be, and then return back to you, and you can remember that, you enter this path of habituation, you'd get busy refocusing your attention on what's really important, because you now know cause and effect in a way that you didn't know it before. Cause and effect is not get a good job and you'll be happy, although you can get happy through a good job. Cause and effect is not you'll feel completely fulfilled with 6 tons of ice cream, although you may get, yeah? But you'll know really the causes for your not just temporal happiness, but your ultimate happiness. If this was true, yeah, and you have to investigate it. I had 23 years, I'm good. So I ask you to think for a second, logically, we're biased about our idea of the universe. 2,500 years of wake-upists are saying to you, go look for emptiness. Meditate, that's how you get to see it. You'll enter the path of seeing if you do blah, blah, blah. Don't waste your time looking for a boyfriend. Avoid poop. If you want to wake up, that's what it's going to do. If not, get your picket fence, get married, have pop-out babies, you'll be good. Yeah, no problem. Everyone's done that. The reason I'm telling you this story is, if you could have seen that, and then come back here, been delivered back here into your mind, and you could remember that reality, what produces things for real in your mind, and you couldn't create causes for your unhappiness. If you knew what really made you unhappy, right? Like if you, in that visceral experience of having a direct perception of emptiness, understood the real cause and effect of this universe, you would not come right back here and go, I'm going to create the causes for my unhappiness. Now that I know the machine, you just couldn't do that, right? So then the path of habituation becomes this period of your spiritual life where you begin to undo all the crap you've already done to produce your unhappinesses, but you're not producing more unhappiness. You're only producing more and more sort of upward spiral kind of realities that deliver you to ultimate wake-upness, Buddha. Why the hell am I telling you that? Because the diamond in the Diamond Cutter Sutra is a metaphor for ultimate truth, for that experience in the path of seeing. The diamond, they say, those beings that get to reach that kind of path of seeing, getting the glimpse of what really is, and then come back, their minds begin to search for what else can I remind myself that is closest to this ultimate thing I just touched. What is this ultimate thing? How can I keep that with me? And so in that search, they say everyone comes up with the diamond as the closest to the ultimate that exists in this physical world of ours, in this human world of ours. There's nothing that scratches it. It's the hardest substance on the planet. It's the closest to a most. Yeah, like you can't have an ultimate distance in our world, right? It's like, because you always go one step further. You can't have ultimate time because you can just add another minute. But in terms of hardness in this physical world, there's nothing harder than a diamond. Only another diamond scratches a diamond. And so the metaphor of the diamond comes to the mind of those beings who have seen emptiness, according to these texts. And they want to, they want some reminder of that ultimate thing they touched, to remind them constantly of the possibility to free themselves from the causes they've created that create our unhappinesses. Does that make sense? Yeah? No? Yeah. Okay, so then there's 3 reasons why the diamond is a metaphor. It's the closest to an ultimate in terms of hardness. Although you can smash a diamond with a hammer, you can't scratch it except with another diamond. Yeah. So you might get a question that says, why is the metaphor of a diamond important? In 3 parts. And the first one is the closest physical thing to an ultimate in terms of its hardness. A perfect diamond is totally clear. You know how when you put glass in front of you and you turn it a little bit, you see the green or the blue of the edge of the glass? A perfect diamond that hasn't got any flaws, you could put a wall as thick as this room, and if you couldn't see the edges, you wouldn't tell that there's a diamond between us. We would be as clear as it is now. It is perfectly clear. So in that sense, they say every object in our reality has an emptiness attached to it, this ultimate reality behind every ice cream, every poop, every boyfriend, every thing, and we cannot see it. It's transparent to us like a wall of diamond would be. In fact, we are surrounded by emptiness and we are unable to connect to it until we're in this deep state of meditation. And so the second reason the diamond is a metaphor is because being totally clear, transparent, you can't realize that there is something between us, a diamond. Similarly, we're in a room filled with emptinesses, which we will see in a state of meditation if we've entered the path of seeing, so long as we've done enough preparation, so long as we've done enough accumulation. At some point, you'll have that experience and you'll be able to see what was previously all around you. That makes sense? Second one. Third one is if you do smash a diamond, every particle of the diamond is precisely, exactly 100% diamond, molecularly, like it's just pure carbon. Yeah. So every sliver of diamonds, I think they call it what's it called? Anyway, every broken particle of a diamond is exactly the same as every other broken particle of diamond, and structurally exactly the same as the diamond itself. They are all identical, and that refers to that every emptiness that we experience in meditation, that every emptiness that we connect to is exactly the same. And in fact, it's exactly the same experience of emptiness that the Buddha is having right now, or did at the time of having that experience themselves. So they say a Buddha, an enlightened mind, is continuously witnessing or experiencing emptiness as well as experiencing the reality we do and every other being. And when you're in the path of seeing, having the direct perception of emptiness, that is 100% exactly the same experience that the Buddha or Buddhas would be having. No difference at all.
Are they infinite?
How do you mean?
Well, what we have been listening to up to this point gave me the impression that every single person's experience of emptiness could be different, which is totally the opposite of what you just said.
Yeah.
Unless there's infinity.
No, but it's good that you say that. So I'll clarify. Every person's experience of emptiness will be exactly the same as every part of the pure diamond is exactly the same as the diamond.
Okay.
Yeah. But prior to that experience of emptiness, so if you're having a direct experience of emptiness, which we have to understand what emptiness is, we'll get to it. And I have a direct experience of emptiness. We have both seen exactly the same thing, which is not a thing. It's a lack of a thing, and we'll get to it. Yeah. It's
A potential.
we sometimes say potential, but it's not a thing. Okay? We'll get to it. We'll spend time in understanding emptiness, no problem. So the reason diamond is in the title is because it's a metaphor for emptiness. And emptiness is a metaphor, the metaphor of the diamond to emptiness has 3 parts, and they are, emptiness is an ultimate way things exist. Yeah? When you have that aha of the universe, it's the hardest thing on the physical planet. It's a metaphor for that, right? Ultimately hard. Emptiness is ultimate reality. Totally clear. Invisible to me. Between you and me, there could be a wall of diamond. I would still see you as clear as I see now. It's invisible to me. Yeah, every emptiness that is around us, equally, I can't see it right now. So that's why the diamond is a nice metaphor. And if you were to smash a diamond and break it into a million pieces, every single piece is exactly the same. And if you're having a direct experience of emptiness and I'm having a direct experience of emptiness, that would be 100% exactly the same thing we're witnessing. And it's exactly the same thing that a Buddha's mind is witnessing. And in those three respects, the diamond, the metaphor of the diamond is a good metaphor to remind us of what we saw when we had that path of seeing. So good so far? Now, why the hell are we putting the word cutter in the title? This is a nice metaphor, ultimate thing, clear thing, you know.
You're learning how to cut right through it, I guess.
That's right. 2,500 years ago, the Buddha said, cut the bullshit. And so he thought that if you put that in the sutra, we'd have a conversation in 2019 and everyone gets it. Yeah. Thanks, Zoe.
In a way, though, I know this is some of the answer to you earlier.
Oh, you looked? Go on.
Am I still allowed to say it?
Yeah, if you want to be a smart ass. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Go.
I'll be a smart ass.
No, good. Go.
In a way, isn't it like cutting the bullshit in that, that's the answer she said, the diamond is cut in the sense that it's not the most ultimate, the emptiness is, and the diamond is a tangible thing.
Woo!
Emptiness is kind of like the
Very,
light
very nice.
tangible.
Yes.
it's-
So it is cut the bullshit. Yeah, good. Zoe, okay, you win. That's a really good answer, and thank you for that. Really cool. So I've taken you through the 5 paths of spiritual journey. Things don't work, you want them to work, you have renunciation, you want to investigate. Because you're trying to investigate, you research, you understand this emptiness thing intellectually, so much so that you can see it directly in meditation. Then you come back down and you're like, oh shit, I'm still here. Because you still got a whole bunch of life inside of you from all the things you did before. And now I need a metaphor, something. So you go to this diamond to remind you of the ultimate thing you touched. Yeah? When you realize that the diamond is a metaphor, the real experience, you also know at the same time that the real experience of the ultimate you touch is so far away from the ultimate that a diamond is. It's close, but not close at all. It's the closest thing to emptiness you're ever going to find on this planet, but it's like between here and the sun close, not here in Bushwick. Yeah? It's that kind of difference. You realize it's so far away from the ultimate you actually experienced that it cuts the metaphor. Diamond cutter. The experience, the direct experience of emptiness, the direct experience of seeing that ultimate thing, touching this ultimate thing, breaks any metaphor at all of any worldly thing, including the hardest thing you could ever find here, a diamond. So in a sense, if you don't put the word cutter in the title, you're missing the entire point of this whole sutra, which says understanding the words that are coming next will let you destroy any kind of worldly metaphor about what really you could reach. Imagine I'm going to learn the Diamond Sutra. Let me find a nice world where I can make this world just perfect. Nothing else, just this world. Yeah? So I'm going to go collect diamonds. It doesn't make sense. But if you understand that it's referring to the path of seeing, referring to ultimate reality, wisdom, prajna paramita, and the experience of that, the visceral experience you have in meditation, destroys the closest thing you could ever find on planet Earth that is ultimate. The ultimate you'll get to experience is so ultimate that it completely smashes every diamond that could ever exist here. And in that sense, having cutter in the title frames your whole reading of the entire thing, all of it. And so it's the closest thing, but normally and yet not close at all. And so the diamond is cut. We cut the bullshit. Yeah, which was correct. It's true. And so it shouldn't be the Diamond Sutra. Now, I am grateful you listened to my blah blah about the textual context, the beginning. You should know that what we just did is gave you a foundation for what we're about to enter in the next few classes. Yeah, but there's a little bit more. I want to give you context for how the sutra starts. Most sutras, if you've read them, it's usually the Buddha does something, someone asks a question, and then the Buddha says blah, blah, blah. And then we go, oh, that's exciting. This is no different. This is the same. It begins in the town of Shravasti, or near the town of Shravasti. The Buddha wakes up, brushes his teeth. It doesn't do that, right? He does his morning thing. He puts on his robe. He takes his begging bowl. He goes to the town of Shravasti to beg for food like bhikshus do. Yeah, comes back to eat his midday meal. And then he sits down in meditation. And then Subhuti, which is, they call the junior monk Subhuti, but it's actually the elder monk, and there's a story about that. It's basically this scene over here. He sits down to go in and meditate. This is a copy of the Chinese printed copy, first printed book I showed you, right? There's the Buddha in the middle about to sit down. They say something like 1,500. There's different versions of how many beings gathered around to listen to the Buddha's lecture on emptiness, on the ultimate reality. And then Subhuti, which is over here, I don't know if you see him, rub jaw in Tibetan. Yeah, he asks 3 questions. And so after that whole scene is set up of the Buddha does his thing, Subhuti comes down, formally requests by kneeling on his right knee, dropping the shawl from his left shoulder to the ground, which still happens in Tibetan monasteries when you do a debate. You do exactly the same posture as is described in the sutra, and says very respectfully, Buddha, how, O conquering one, O conquering, what of those who have entered well into the way of the bodhisattvas, how should they live? How should they practice? And how should they keep their thoughts? So that's the first words that Subhuti, the junior monk, who's always showing up in these sutras, asking the most profound questions, asks the Buddha. And I put it in 2019 terms. Imagine meeting a being who knows absolutely everything, who could give you just the right answer, yeah, who has been enlightened, woke up, and you get a chance to ask them a question. And in this sutra, the question that gets asked is, these beings called bodhisattvas, and bodhisattvas are beings who want to wake up, want to reach enlightenment for the sake of themselves and everybody else. Yeah, this is called the Mahayana path. We'll cover it in the next few courses. Actually, next class. If I want to, basically he's asking, if I want to be like you, if I want to Buddha, wake up, by taking care of myself and everyone else, how should I live? How should I practice? How should I keep my mind? Yeah? And the Buddha says, Lakso, oh, cool. Good question. Yeah? Good question. And that's the end of your class. Sorry. We got to start, okay? The Buddha's about to say something profound to him that will confuse him. Mm-hmm. And you. And that's how he begins to unravel. He's going to say, oh, you want to taste ice cream? You must look at ice cream as poop. Or ice cream. Something like that, but he doesn't do anything like that. But he's going to confuse him by luring him into, oh, you want this? Of course, you're going to have to do this, but it won't be this. Something like that. Okay, we'll get to it, and then through that sort of juxtaposition, he'll begin to narrow our minds into that doorway between these two extremes that I talked about earlier, and he'll shoot us into another world. If you sustain your mind in that other world for these 9 more weeks, cause and effect never fail. Your mind must have a different result than the normal. Yeah, that's why I keep saying turn up to these classes for 10 weeks. Give yourself 2 hours of not normal. Yeah. So with that, I need to give you homeworks and I need to remind you of quizzes. Yeah. Next week, when we come in, I'm going to ask you the questions that had numbers on the slides. And I don't need you, so I'll be breaking you up into groups of people who have already done this course, and I'm going to make them responsible. Maybe some of them know, maybe some of them don't know. I'm going to make them responsible to together answer the questions as a group and get some conversation going about the content we just dropped today, so that we can go into the Buddha's answer next week. Yeah? And those people are you going to be here next week, Emmett? Then that's Emmett and Noemi and Anthony and Rachel and Santi and Stephen and Ming and Supriya. Thomas, are you going to be here next week? And Thomas, am I missing someone else that's really smart? You should all put up your hands. Sarah will probably be here. And if anyone else is a smartass, like Retta, yeah, not Michael. Oh, you can. Basically, what I'm trying to get you to do is small enough groups where you can get to know yourselves, and we'll do one quiz. Just put your name on top of the quiz, and as a group, submit your quiz. Yeah. You individually make sure your name is on some quiz every week so you pass. Yeah. Make sure that. There is a meditation that I invite you to do at least 3 times between now and then. And depending on your level of practice, if you're not a Buddhist, try and do this in a non-Buddhist way. If you're practicing Buddhism because you like the Buddhism stuff, practice it in a Buddhism stuff. If you're some other belief system or religion, practice it in that way. But here's the request, yeah? If the nature of the world we experience comes from us, I'm going to ask you all to go in and turn something on in your heart about understanding these classes, this course. So I'm going to ask you to recall your initial motivation for studying. Why did you come here? What were you hoping to find? Turn it a little bigger than just me getting happy. Make it a bodhisattva ideal. What if I figured that ultimate thing out and I could show everyone else how to get ultimate? Some kind of, whatever the motivation was, how can you share it with others? Get that clear. That's when you sit down to meditate. And however best you can engage your mind, beg for teachings. In a Buddhist context, this means think of your lineage, think of the Buddha, think of your teacher's teacher, Tsongkhapa, Kamalashila, imagine them, beg them to come, please pop into my mind, show me what you saw, whatever, if that's your practice. If you're some other tradition, call upon the ultimate universe being to come and help you. If you're a Puritan and you want to, I don't know what that would do. What would you do? Call the universe, call just, ice cream. Yeah, ice cream. Yeah. Dial the highest essence, the highest knowledge, the highest thing that turns your mind into understanding, and beg it in your mind to show you what is hidden just in front of you and you can't see it because there's a wall of diamond between you and it.
I have a question that's actually serious that sounded like the last sentence you just
said. Yeah.
What if there's something in you, or you feel that there's something with you that, like, even though you were willing to do all of that begging, that something's just going to butt up against it and be like, no. Or it's not rational.
Yeah, it's partly why I'm asking you to do it. Yeah. So Here is your choice, okay? According to this, we can live the rest of our lives normal like everyone else. See you at the nursing home if you're lucky. Alzheimer's or not, sometimes, yeah? Congratulations. Normal produces normal, yeah? Status quo produces status quo, yeah? Now, we all come to this game with some kind of impulse. I am what I believe to be about 20% of the population, which is my first thought when you tell me to do something is not going to do it. Yeah? That's how I became really good at Buddhism. Yeah? I didn't know they like debating. Damn it. Yeah? So I'm like, that doesn't work. And they're like, oh, I'm glad you asked. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, oh, I'm glad you said that. Don't. You know, so I am the one that, and still in my nature, to say, okay, everyone's doing that, I want to do this. Yeah? That's actually helped me in some sense. So yes, you are going, know that you're going to come up with that part of you. That's why I invite you for 2 hours, have a different state of mind. For 15-minute meditation, practice meditation, which is, I'm going to do this. Any interruptions that say not do this, I'm going to pause for 15 minutes and I'll get to you in a minute. Yeah? So that would be my advice to that. And I'm saying beg to try and get a reaction out of you. What it means is, can you say whatever it is that sparks an understanding? You've all had some realization in your life, right? Oh, I realized I shouldn't eat ice cream. It gives me diarrhea. Okay. When you get that aha, then you usually follow through or act upon it, right? But first you need the aha. Something in your mind turned on to give you an aha. Call that thing, wherever it is. Is it in your mind? Good. Is it in Tsongkhapa? Good. Is it in the Buddha? Good. Is it in that statue? Probably not, right? But it's in your conception. That's why we ask. Yeah? Can you get it by thinking the Virgin Mary is coming to give you that? Absolutely. People can get that. Is it the Virgin Mary? Not for me. Yeah? But can some people say, please, Virgin Mary, come over here and help me and have a sublime experience? Yeah. I don't care which vehicle you use, so long as you get the seed in your mind that you could get an understanding of this emptiness thing, this ultimate thing. We're going to touch this. So that's what you're begging for, yeah? So if you have an existing practice, call on that, beg for insight, yeah? And so review your notes, do the homework, which appears here. If you haven't got access to the portal yet, go to 3joules.org under courses, Diamond Cutter Sutra. All the way at the bottom, there'll be a portal for homeworks, quizzes, readings. Please try. It will transform. Like if today was a little hard because I did all the boring stuff first, yeah, I apologize, but next week it'll be a little bit easier. You'll actually get more experiential thing. Look at the readings, look at the homeworks. The password for the portal is Dorje Chupa, and now you know what it means. What's it mean? Good. Please give yourself the time to look at another view of the world, and you might get a glimpse at another universe. Yeah? The password for that is 3J. Thank you. Doesn't it go automatically? No, I guess you need a password. Yeah, and it's on his email. The number 3 and the letter J is the password. Sorry. Got it. Thank you. And now, finally, let's seal off the class formally in Tibetan style with a dedication, meaning whatever insight you got, whatever possibilities you saw, give them away before you screw it up. Yeah? So then it's in the bank of growth rather than I turn it into poop. Yeah? So, Stephen. Kokia Jeshian Matok Drama Rira Lingshia Yinde Gampadi The Sangha Shindu Mite Duargi The Dropin Namda Shinla Suparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami Undiya Gawokun Sunam Yeshe Tsok Shin Sunam Yeshe Lejun Rei Rampa Kuni Tobarsho. I'm really grateful that you made the effort to connect to this incredible. I don't know anything more profound than what we're about to cover. I feel I don't often do it justice. I wish that I could be maybe more articulate or clearer or give you more of a sense of what this can do. I don't want to do anything else with my life but to share the experiences that this has given me in the years of making efforts. And if you could just get a taste of it, I think it's a good life. Last thing, 3 Joules is run by volunteers. If you want to get involved at helping 3 Joules be 3 Joules, please see Supriya, Stephen, or Rachel. They run the space, and we're always looking for people to connect. And we teach Dharma, yoga, meditation. We do things in the community. If you want to have a place to practice these ideas, this is just the perfect place, and you're all welcome. To be part of it in any way you like. Meditation teacher training. I'm being puppeted here by Rachel. Thank you. There is 2 spots left for the meditation teacher training. Really is. Put up your hand if you did last year's meditation teacher training. Yeah. Well, thumbs up or down. It's it really was a magical experience. A year ago, we didn't know each other. In 2 weeks' time, we start a group of people very interested to learn the mechanics, the philosophy, the current research, and the application of what meditation can ultimately do, as well as what it can relatively do. If you're interested at all, talk to me, Stephen, Rachel, or that's it. Not Supriya. Don't talk to Supriya. Okay. Thanks, everyone. And please keep these precious things as close to your heart as you possibly can as you go to bed tonight. Hopefully, I'll see you next week. Good night. Yay. Survived it. My pleasure. Yeah.